Let's go with another example of a question asking you what inference can be made based on your understanding of a passage that you are given. It's going to test your reading comprehension and your understanding of another topic, in this case, being inferencing. You're almost always going to have to reread the passage, and that's why we've been looking at this one so much. As you get familiar with From Team Moon, how 400,000 people landed Apollo 11 on the moon, these probably have gotten easier and easier, but keep this article open as you investigate the question and be ready to tell me what paragraph you're able to find the answer to the question from. Let's go ahead with today's question, and that one asks, based on the excerpt, what can be inferred about the significance of the command module Columbia? A, it was the least important part of the mission. B, its primary role was to serve as a backup in case of emergencies. C, it was crucial for the survival of the crew and successful re-entry to Earth. And D, it was mainly a symbolic part of the mission to represent NASA's achievements. Remember, you are making an inference. It is asking what can be inferred. You're going to have to read between the lines and use the evidence to answer this question. Pause here, go back to your passage, see if you can find the paragraph that answers the question you're posed with, and then we'll come back and discuss it in just a moment. And let's go ahead and discuss. Let's break down the answers. A, it was the least important part of the mission. This just isn't right. The article talks about how important the command module was for the crew's survival and for returning to Earth. This means it was very important. If you don't have this component, you don't have a crew returning back from the mission alive. B, its primary role was to serve as a backup in case of emergencies. This isn't the main point. The article shows that the command module Columbia had a bigger role than just being a backup. It was essential for the whole trip to the moon and back. And D said it was mainly a symbolic part of the mission to represent NASA's achievements. We've had several parts from several questions before this that have mentioned the fact that what they did was try to be practical, try to be safe. Aesthetics or the way things looked didn't matter. This just isn't supported, and the command module had a vital role. C is the correct answer. It was crucial for the survival of the crew and the successful re-entry to Earth. The article mentions that the command module was the only part that went to the moon and back, and it had to keep the crew alive and handle the fiery re-entry to Earth. This shows it was really important for the mission's success and the crew's safety, so C is the correct answer. But where did we find that answer? We found it in paragraph 11. It specifically said, keeping the crew alive under such extreme conditions was indeed a big item. Only the command module Columbia would make the complete journey from Earth to the moon and back home again. It would serve as crew living quarters and as the spacecraft control center, and Columbia alone would confront the fiery Earth re-entry. Notice how big a deal it makes Columbia in that. When you have A, it was the least important part of the mission. Paragraph 11 directly contradicts that. B, its primary role was to serve as a backup. It doesn't say anything here about it being a backup. They're saying it's the only part that would confront the fiery Earth re-entry and that it was a big item. For D, it was mainly a symbolic part of the mission. Nothing here about being symbolic. These questions seem really, really difficult on the surface, but when you find the piece of the puzzle that they come from, the paragraph that the question is referring to, they almost always become way easier. It's just the hunt that can sometimes be difficult.